Did everybody get that? Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session of The People Speaks Out. Looks like we're only a small group, but I'm sure a few extra stragglers will join us. I'm just going to turn the music off because I was playing something called Ancestors, which is a theme for the day, or for this meeting. What is going on with our ancestors? What must they be thinking? So that is food for thought. So today it's Monday, the 3rd of November, and we are in between Samhain, which has just gone on Friday, otherwise known as Halloween, which I call it Samhain because I align myself with the Celtic festival, the end of the year, and the connection and the tuning into the ancestors. So maybe you can tell me what what your feelings are about Halloween taken over by the Americans and the experience I had of kids come trick or treating, and if anybody else had any. And also, obviously, in a couple of days' time, we've got Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night. And do you feel we're ready for another blowing up of Parliament, or at least trying to? It's quite tempting, isn't it? So those are a couple of themes. Your ancestors. How do you feel your ancestors, if they were looking down on us now, what do you think they would have to say? And maybe you're going back 7 generations. How do you feel that things have changed since those days, and how they would view it now, and what was going on? So just food for thought if anyone's got any ideas on that. And what else was I going to mention today? Obviously, it's your freedom to speak, but if anybody has come across, the light paper, you all know the light paper. Well, they've now got a radio station running. I don't know if anybody knows. It's called Clear Air FM. So I'm going to put that in the chat box for anybody who's interested in listening to alternative radio. So I think there's a mixture of music. It's all about, obviously, speaking truth. Hi, Annie. Hi, Lindsay. Just tuning in about today's theme. And I've just been playing a music called The Ancestors. And my first feeling was, if your ancestors are looking down on you now, going back 7 generations, what do you feel they'd have to say about the state of affairs at this moment in time? What's changed, do you feel, and what needs to change more? I'm also very interested in finding out how you see the modern day versions of like Bonfire Night. How can we sort of explode Parliament without actually physically doing the deed? And do we wish it had been done? Because we put all poor Guy Fawkes onto the, or a lot of the events do, put Guy Fawkes up onto the bonfire. We burn him as if he was a baddie, but I've he's been portrayed as a baddie, hasn't he? But actually, he was actually on the right track, don't you feel? So welcome everyone to this version of The People Speaks Out, which is the 3rd of November. And just wondering, we're a small group. You just tell me what's been going on for you since we had the last. I have not been around. I've had a most fantastic time in Sardinia, traveling around the whole island. I don't know if anybody else has been, but it's an incredible place with a lot of history and spiritual connections. And I was kind of looking up what would be good to go and see whilst I was over there, and came across this incredible place. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it or ever been to it, but it was called the Sound Garden. And a gentleman, his whole life work was about, in Sardinia, they've got massive, it's the oldest island in the Mediterranean. It's absolutely massive. And it's really an interesting place to go, because it's like gods up in the heavens have managed to throw, thousands and thousands of them managed to throw massive rocks onto the island, because it's just covered in the most incredible rocks. It's got the most amazing diversity of formations of rocks, from volcanic rock to limestone. And everywhere you go, every building, everywhere has got these incredible, beautiful stone floors, stone buildings. Everything's made out of stone. There is no shortage. And it's if you want to get your bathroom tiled or refloored, or your kitchen, or get granite worktops, Sardinia is the place to go because it's absolutely astounding. So it doesn't surprise me that a gentleman was very inspired by all the rock formations. And some of them are so old, they look like animals that have been petrified in stone, like huge big lions and elephants. Everywhere you go, you see these incredible rock formations. And so this gentleman was inspired and he decided to carve, a bit like Stonehenge type of rocks. He managed to carve all these ornate structures out of the stones. And then he realized that they actually sang to him. And he's got 1,000 stones in this garden. And we had a little bit of the history of what went on there. So it was quite interesting. There was a group of about 8 of us. And I thought, oh, it's interesting that some other people have discovered it, because it's like in this tiny little town, a place called San Sforate, and nowhere in particular that anyone would be drawn to, apart from this sounding garden. So I sort of walked in there with my sister and a group of us, and this lady, you can't touch the rocks. They're they let everything grow naturally. All the moss, those lizards coming out of them, they were all very much in sort of situation in nature. With, apart from obviously he had sculpted, and they actually moved. And inside, she showed us that actually each stone actually has on the inside a heart. So there was a stone that was exposed, and there literally was this beautiful sort of like heart inside the inside of the stone. So of course you naturally want to stroke it. We were stroking these stones, and it was such a beautiful feeling. But this lady got this literally smaller rock, and she held it across these stones. And as she pulled them across, it made the most incredible sounds. It was absolutely beautiful to hear sounding stones, and they were really brought to life. And some of them being carved so intricately that they actually were moving. So it's a myth that stones are solid, because we actually saw them moving internally, the internal structures. And all the different types of stones, when they were played, made these most beautiful songs. It was absolutely gorgeous. So that was one of my experiences of Sardinia, and the massive, huge amount of mountain ranges that are there. Absolutely incredible. Loads of sacred wells. We visited this ancient well that was literally like an upside down pyramid. So we had to go down into this pyramid, and there was this beautiful sacred well and this cone structure that went up. And apparently at certain times of the year, obviously on full moons, the moon hits this spot and it shoots down into this sacred well. And obviously this communication between the cosmic forces and this beautiful ancient well. It's so old, but we walked down into the well, and I sat there and I communicated through sound, and it was just a beautiful connection with nature. So Sardinia is a beautiful place. So I've been really fortunate to have this wonderful experience crossing over to these ancient islands as well on a car ferry. So I've had a really interesting time. It's sort of reawoken things. I just started doing a shamanic course, not myself, but I'm joined one, because I felt like a real strong pull to reconnect with the ancestors. So obviously we've just had that with Samhain. But what was really interesting, and I'd love to hear your versions of it, is that I decided this year, I've not had any trick-or-treaters, and I thought, I feel a bit mean, really, because they're probably out and about now after COVID. It seemed to shut them down for quite a few years, which was a blessing in many ways. But so I put out just literally some tiny little packets of Maltesers in a bowl, and then some sort of natural sweets that looked nice but were actually quite healthy, for sweets, and put them in a bowl and I lit a fire at the front as well to help, attract ancestors if they needed to come and talk to me. There was a big fire, so they knew where to find me, so to speak. And within about 3 minutes, I must be like 20 kids coming up my tiny little garden path, all with these buckets, full of sweets already. So I don't know where they'd been beforehand. And these hands just came diving in, grabbing, and all the sort of, all the parents are holding back. And I just sort of put my cloak on as I answered the door. I had this witch's cloak on. That sort of went, whoa! It's having a bit of a laugh, but none of them were at all frightened. They just went to grab the sweets. So I said, hang on a minute. I said, normally we have an exchange of energy. So what are you going to give me in exchange for these sweets? Otherwise I might have to capture you and put you in the garden shed, right? I was just having a laugh with them. And they went, and I said, I'd like a blessing, please. I'd like you to bless this house. They were completely and utterly befuddled, and they just didn't know what to say. Neither did the parents. So I was trying to say, This is actually a festival where we celebrate, the end of the Celtic year and the beginning of the new year. And it's the end of the wheel. So we're celebrating the fact that we're still alive, whereas many people aren't. And also to connect back with the ancestors. Anyway, they were running out at top speed trying to get away from me, I think. But literally, these sweets lasted all of 3 minutes. And then I felt really mean for all the other children because it didn't have any. But anyway, I did my own little ceremony with some friends, and we kind of sat with our pumpkin, a nice friendly one. It wasn't a ghostly one at all. It was really cute. So what did you all do? If you still celebrate, or now a lot of children, a lot of us have, our children are no longer having to take them around trick or treating. Do you still feel connected to the ancestors? How do you feel Samhain affects you, or does it just pass you by? As I said, then we've got Guy Fawkes and the whole bonfire and firework display. Is that like Diwali, or is it really about this getting rid of anyone that stands up against the government or tries to blow them up? Because as I said before, there's a lot going on that would really be conducive to us blowing up our current government. But I have a solution, which I will read about later, which I'll give you a little intro. But I'd really like to hear from you, because obviously it's the people speaks out. But I just haven't seen you for a few weeks, so I thought I'd just fill you in into what I've been up to. So yeah, starting a new course to connect back with the ancestors. Just had a fantastic experience going around Sardinia. Didn't realise how an incredible place it was. And it's the oldest and most ancient and the biggest island in the Mediterranean. But it's quite wild compared to your Mallorcas and some more sanitised places like that. So welcome everyone. And just so we can all tune in, I know I've been chatting and everything. I just thought I'd share with you, I, many years ago, trained as a heart intelligence facilitator, helping people to step back into the part of them that hasn't been covered up with the mask or the personality. It's interesting that persona comes from the Greek word meaning personality, meaning mask. And throughout my life, I noticed many friends that I've been at school with had become covered over with a mask. Their normal, enthusiastic, sort of wild, exuberant, childlike side suddenly had sort of deadened, had become more flatlined. And that's what inspired me to help people find their inner heart, back to the heart. So just before we come to you, Annie, the 4 tenets of heart intelligence are, and this is something which you can carry throughout your life, is there any situation where you're trying to make a decision or trying to tune in to what is going on for you and how you can move forward with a good decision, is that often people will come from the head and try and think about it, whereas I will tune into the heart, because I believe that is my sat-nav, my internal sat-nav, that guides me into the right direction. So the 4 tenets are to get still. So if we just become still, and to get still is just closing the eyes, tuning into the body, noticing, becoming very noticeable what is moving in the body. Is there any aches or any pains? Is there anything that is wanting to draw attention and bring your attention to something? And often we need to get still to be able to do that. So the next step is getting clear. How am I feeling? Where am I right now in this moment in life? There is only the now, as we know. So how am I feeling right now? And given that, what is it I'm really longing for? Because if I'm not feeling 100% or I'm not feeling fulfilled, what is it that I need in order to help me move into the direction of my joy, my heartfelt inclinations, my joy, whatever it may be, so that you can then get inspired. It's really important to move from a place of inspiration, in my feeling. And if we do things because we have to, or we must, or we ought to, it does tend to drag, and it does tend to be not, doesn't feel full of joy and vitality to help us move. So getting inspired. And then once we're inspired about something, is to get moving, is to take action. And Rachel, I'm sure, has a lot to say about that, having just taken a lot of action with her new Dragon Dens course. That sounds absolutely brilliant. And so she's very inspiring in order to get, somebody who can show you how to get moving or to take action. So get still, get clear, get inspired, and get moving. And that is the way I live my life. It's not always necessarily, brilliantly done, but it just helped me tune into the part of me that is really, what am I here for? What's my mission? What's my purpose? So with that, I am happy to then hand the reins over. Annie, you've got your hand up. Just to let you know, obviously, for those who haven't still unmute, Annie, that's fine, is the reactions button down at the bottom. And if you press on that, you can see a hand and you can raise your hand. I would love to hear what you have to say. You can talk about anything, doesn't have to be about the subjects I've mentioned, but just what is maybe impacting you right now, or maybe coming up in your life that you'd like to share. So Annie, we'll come over to you first. Thank you for your patience.
Oh,
Are you unmuted?
that trip to Sardinia sounds fantastic and fascinating. My son went to Sardinia. He just graduated with a in architecture, and he found this amazing opportunity to go to Sardinia in the summer. Um, and he had to pay for his flight, but you get to stay with some people, and they were going to rebuild a barn or something, and it was sort of work experience, learn some Italian, all fantastic. So off he went, and he had to get a bus from the airport and go to this remote place, which took all day. And they were very strange people. They were sort of hippies, and there was no running water. There was nothing there, and they didn't do any work. And he starved for a week. He was meant to be there for 2 weeks, and he hardly had any food. And in the end, he left and got a bus back and to the airport and came home. And he'd lost so much weight. It was quite an interesting experience for him. And he didn't get to see much of Sardinia, but what he did see was beautiful, but a very strange experience. Um, anyway, it was lovely to hear that about what you said. And raising the questions about what's Halloween all about and bonfire night, and I don't know. I was drawing a complete blank on that. I mean, obviously, the end scene from what's that film called? V for Vendetta. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but it's
Yeah.
when the Houses of Parliament explode and get blown up to this amazing music. And it's a really powerful image. Um, yeah, I haven't really got very much to say except that uh, I've been feeling these energies like a lot of people where you get totally exhausted. Absolutely wiped out. I mean, I've been doing lots of physical stuff as I normally do, gardening and raking up leaves and moving things and clearing stuff. And but it comes with this total exhaustion. And I've found that a lot of friends have had the same thing. And you just take time out, lie down, have a rest, have an early night, sleep through, catch up. Maybe we're just catching up, maybe we're just getting old. I don't know what it is, but I know that lots of other people are experiencing that. And I don't know if anybody on here has. And then just to follow on from what I said last time when I was talking about how I'm using AI to push back against all the establishments. Um, an incredible thing happened this week. I got a letter from Halifax, and I'd had an account with Halifax, a credit card account, and I'd had difficulties 5 years ago. And I was talking to them, and they just gave me a default and then just switched off. And so I had this default on the system. They never chased me for money, nothing, heard nothing, got no bills, got nothing, 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 nothing. It was just sort of sitting there. And then I got a letter out of the blue from them that said, we're closing your account, we're reducing it to zero, we're removing your default, it won't exist, it's going away, it's all been done. Um, it was almost like who prompted this? And it has obviously come from somebody else who's found a little thing in the law I haven't got the details in front of me, but I'll get them and I'll upload them. It's something from the Financial Conduct Authority called Principle 12. And if there's any accounts that are not complete in terms of their documentation, i.e., they don't have a signed credit agreement by both parties, or they're inactive, they're not being chased, then they are duty bound. It's called consumer duty to remove that account. And this came into law in July 23, very quietly. And the banks all just said, don't do anything, just pretend it doesn't exist unless we get called out on it. And somebody somewhere obviously called out Halifax, who then had to do this to all their customers. And so I've spent the whole weekend, sad person that I am, at my laptop, getting ready to do this on all the other accounts. And it comes in at a very, very high level. It's regulatory. It comes in at regulatory affairs and legal, and AI has put together the most powerful 4-page letters, and I've sent copies of all sorts of other things too. Um, and interestingly, when you've got a closed credit card account, you can still, and even if it's gone to a debt collector or been assigned, so you can still make small payments, like just to see if it's still alive, and it is. So they're actually breaching so many of their own laws. And so I've spent the week throwing the book at Sainsbury's Bank and what's the other one? Barclays. Yeah, on this Principle 12 to get them to close the accounts once and for all. So I'm feeling good, and I'm going to share all that. I'm going to make a big deal about sharing it all so everybody else can do the same.
So Annie, that's interesting, really interesting. But what do people have to do then to get their accounts
You have to
officially?
write to, and there's various people that you have to write to. It's at board level. We're not messing around with customer complaints here. You go right to board level and company secretary, and I mean I can read you on. I won't do it. I'll post some stuff if I when I find it, and I'll let you know. Um, but yeah, so I'm feeling quite empowered by that, that there is a little tiny glimmer of something that actually works for us that's been uncovered, um, uh, and is being exposed now. So that's just a tiny little thing. The world, I get very, not only do I get very tired, but I also felt I went down the rabbit hole too much a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to some podcasts about miscarriages of law and how people are still in prison after 34 years, and I just found it all too much. It really, really got me down, and every day with these news of the news of the stabbings on the train. And Wes
Mm.
Streeting the next day was posting on Twitter about how this is going to be the best ever Strictly Come Dancing, and he's really excited to see all the other dancers. And you just sort of think, wow, you know, this is obviously deliberate, and we're at war. And they've let people in to the country to destroy us. And they are also dismantling the country. The government is dismantling it to destroy us. So it does get me down. I'm just rambling here. There's no cohesion to any of
Okay,
it.
you're quite happy if you can
Um,
ramble, but I was going to say if we're
and
a new,
you just have to step out and go commune with nature and marvel at the incredible things in the world and around us, and try and distance yourself from all of this. There's nothing we can do to fight it. Um, but I think we all need to do a little bit somewhere to undermine the system, however small it is. Um, if you can help yourself, if you can help a few others, a tiny, tiny amount. And it's like I still do litter picks on the beach. I go and spend an hour wandering by the sea and picking up litter, and it won't make much difference, but it's made a tiniest, tiniest amount of difference. And you feel good about it, and you've used your time to improve the world in a microcosmic way. So I think that's all we can do, really. Uh, so has anybody else suffered from total wipeout exhaustion?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel really, really energized and really lively, and then next minute I wake up. It's 4:30, and I thought, where have I fallen asleep? Just on the settee. I was that tired. I just like
Mm,
wiped out, but I wasn't okay. I was okay up until then. What's really interesting, I don't know if it's got anything to do with it. You said you were walking, spending a lot of time in nature like I do.
yeah.
Have you noticed the proliferation of berries this year?
Oh, yeah.
All
Yeah.
yew trees are just literally covered.
Yew trees, holly,
Yeah,
walnuts. It's like there's walnut trees near us, and they have about five walnuts on them most years. And this year it's just overwhelming. Apples this year have been fantastic. All
plums.
fruit. It's I've got an allotment, and the abundance has been huge.
And what's
Um,
that telling us? What's nature telling us? And also, I didn't realise, Annie, I don't know if anybody else did, that the proliferation of the berries or anything in nature on above ground, it all comes from the intelligence of the fungi, the mycelia
yeah,
underneath the ground. Apparently, that's what determines how prolific the berries are going to be. So I'm wondering what that intelligence under the ground is sort of working on, and the fact that everything's so prolific this year. What's it? It's just interesting to see, because obviously we become, many of us. I know you do spend a lot of time in nature, many of us do, but it's like we do come slightly disconnected as
mm,
to why this is happening. When was the last time there was this massive proliferation of I
mm,
mean, it's unbelievable. Just going past trees and with berries on them, and they're literally hanging so low on the ground because they're
mm.
so weighted down. So, has anybody's got any ideas as to why it might be happening this year? And the fact that the intelligence of this is sort of like under the ground, the fungus is what actually determines. It tells all the trees and the bushes.
But also, Sass, it's weird because we haven't had that many chemtrails this year. It's got less, I think.
Yes.
That's what I think. And we've had a warm summer. Um, but it used to mean when you had this kind of abundance that it was a signal that we're going to have a very harsh winter. Um,
Yes.
so they say. So I don't
Or
know.
is it 3II Atlas or whatever is coming over? Is it creating a proliferate? Is it communicating with the fungus?
Oh,
Anybody?
there's certainly a different kind of energy. So we're feeling that energy
Yeah.
in positive and negative ways. Um, and there's this proliferation of nature. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, we'll have to. We'll
Yeah.
see what our other panelists are going to have to say about that. So, Annie,
Yes.
thank you for
So
sharing
I'll
your.
sign out.
Um, it's great that you can just share what's been going on for you and sharing your inner world. So that's great. Thank you. It doesn't have to be necessarily about any particular subject to say. It's what's moving within you. So, Lindsay, we'll come over to you if you'd like to unmute yourself. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and welcome.
Hi.
So, if you could go down to the bottom. Well, oh, yeah, you found it. Okay, brilliant. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Well, yes, we can
After
hear
a
you.
while,
It's just saying
I
it's
thought,
telling me, Lindsay, the connection is a bit weak. Um, so, what you're saying is intermittent. If
what
you
can
can,
I
if
do
there's
about
anything you can do to, I'm not sure actually what you could do. If anybody got any suggestions, let's do. Um, is your Wi-Fi? Are you near your Wi-Fi?
that? Working in general, I don't know. I'll have to sign off. I think if it persists.
We'll just try and speak, and we'll see. Or yes, you can use
Um,
headphones if you can. Have you got
I haven't
headphones
got
on? Is that what it is?
I haven't
Okay.
before. Shall I, shall I, oh, I don't
It's just obviously when you're doing a recording and when it plays back and we can't hear what someone says, it's very frustrating. So maybe you could
well,
find some headphones, or maybe move nearer to the Wi-Fi. So we'll come back, Lindsay, at the end if we can, to see if there's anything you can do about the unstable. It might just be a brief moment whilst there's an instability. We're going to move to Corrine for the moment. If you'd just like to mute yourself and see, we come back to you, Lindsay, if we can get your sound okay. Thank you. Hi, Corrine. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello. Can you hear me? Because I've never used this microphone thing before. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Hi. So sorry I was late. So I missed all the, preamble and interesting things that were said during the first quarter of an hour. I mean, I'd first just like to say, Annie, I think you're so inspiring. Over the years, I've heard you speak and what you're up to. And I think, you're so focused and I really admire everything you do. I mean, I honestly don't have the head to do all the stuff that you do, but I really admire what you do. And I do think of you sometimes when thinking putting on armor in the morning to be a shield to those negative entities. So I haven't really got anything to say, obviously, because I've come in on towards the end of conversations. But in terms of fruit, I mean, a lot of it is to do with the fact we've had so much sun this year. But also, I mean, for example, I have an apple tree and it has 1 year of complete glut. And then the next year, it just doesn't want to give fruit. And sometimes trees go into that. But also on the herbal course I did, the woman said that often we have a glut of what we need. And so, for example, hawthorn berries, there are so many around. As you say, everything's dripping fruit at the moment. Of course, it's perfect. It's a balance of the heart. And so it's very interesting that, I mean, Caroline was saying on the course that often people, maybe they have something growing in abundance in their garden and it's exactly what they need for their remedies, for their own self. I think there was passion flower in one person's house, and whatever you need passion flower for, it was the perfect thing to be growing there. And also, I mean, I don't know whether you know, and I'm absolutely not a herbalist, it's just hardly even a beginner. But with nettles, the nettle seed, so there are two types, there's male and female nettle seed. Now, if they're quite plump and fat looking, hanging down, they are female nettle seeds, and those are adaptogens, so that we can have that. I mean, it's a bit like ginseng in China, but this is our very own of the British Isles, our own adaptogen. So if your body needs boosting up in some way or coming down in some way, and I don't even know exactly, I don't really know what how it actually works, but basically it's a balancer, even which way that your body needs. And then the male seed heads are very, they look puny. So, get your gloves on, pull off a few, stick them in a cuppa or in a blender or just munch them. They're not very nice, but they are going to help, and they are our own intrinsic natural balancer, growing everywhere. And of course, and don't eat the leaves when the plant is seeding. You need to eat the green leaves when they're fresh and young, as I understand it. So anyway, I don't really think I've got anything to say. I mean, basically, I'm keeping myself bright. It's a whole month now since I turned 70, and I had a stonking, fantastic party, kangaroo moon, danced for hours. So having had months of being really very weak and lightheaded and never quite sure whether I'd actually even manage, to get to my party, actually jolly well I did, and I danced for hours, and we had a great time. And then and then the next day, we ended up having about 50 people came to our house for cups of tea. And, the garden, the universe supported us. It had been gales the weekend before. Gazebo was jumping up and down. The weekend of my party, gorgeous weather, sunshine in the garden, lots of singing, laughing, hugging. And so just in terms of these times where there's so many awful things happening, I'm just keeping myself bright, doing the best I can, doing a bit for Amnesty International. And I sing when I sing anyway, but I sing often in the street, and I'm just singing to the trees. And, you know, it might feel very naive, but that's what I'm doing. That's my bit. And anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you because there'll be other people to talk.
Well, I was just going to ask Corinne what we were. I don't know, because you hand out the light paper, or you have been doing in the past.
I used to, yes. I'm not at the minute.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, and just let everybody know that they've now got a radio station running.
Oh.
Light paper. It's called Clear Air FM, the sound of freedom. So I'm going to put that in the chat box, the where you can find it. It's one of those HTTPS's :// I hate the word slash, so I'm going to use a / and then clearair.fm. So I just thought, in case you were aware of that, I already wanted to tune into a more interesting radio stations than Jeremy Vine. You might like to listen to what's going on. And we were just talking, Corinne, about, obviously we're right in between Samhain, or Halloween as it's known, and the obviously bonfire night, which is traditionally celebrating that Guy Fawkes didn't blow up the House of Parliament. I'm saying I think we'd all feel quite the opposite. Obviously, I was going to offer a solution and just read you something after everyone's had a chance to speak, because obviously it's the people speak out, so I want to hear what everybody else has to say about how you're feeling. And we're also talking about the ancestors. If they were looking down 7 generations back, what were they doing then? How would they view the situation on planet Earth right now? How would they be feeling about the way things have gone? So it's, to me, it's about, you know, Samhain or Halloween is about connecting with the ancestors. And I was just having a little laugh about the situation of people coming to your door doing trick or treating, and how these children have got no idea. All they're doing is just grabbing the sweets. And so I try and educate the parents, and they were trying to shuffle off backwards out the gate as quickly as possible. But otherwise, I'm normally in shops talking to people, singing to the shopkeepers. I mean, I'll probably be seen as a local menace, but anyway, I do enjoy it, and it seems to lift everyone's spirits. So try doing that, singing to the trees, singing to the waters. I mean, in Sardinia, I was singing everywhere, and it was like there was a communication going on. So your voice has this incredible ability to open up nature, to get inspiration from nature, and also to get messages. So anyway, thank you very much for coming on, Corinne. Is anybody else like to speak? I know, Rachel, you got your hand up. We'd love to hear what you've been up to, and whether you've got any energy left after all those exhausting videos that you've been creating. And then Lindsay, you say that you've got your, you think you have your Bluetooth was causing a problem. So we'll come back to you after I've spoken to, after we've heard from Rachel. Is that all right? So
I was going to suggest, Sass, that you go to Lindsay, because she has said she's got her.
Okay, well, I'll come over to Lindsay then. Lindsay, if you'd like to unmute yourself, we'll try again, and then Val will come to you after Rachel.
Okay, just let me know if it's different. If you can hear me.
Yeah, well done.
I'm quite glad if Rachel goes after me, because I have let her know on Telegraph something of what's gone on with me, and her experience is so valuable. I'm trying to think how I can make this brief. It doesn't involve ancestors insofar as what's happened to me had led me to put my house for sale. Then I did ask I've been with the Tibetan Buddhist people for 40, 50 years. And so I wrote to my Tibetan teacher in India, and he did a divination for me. And it came back, no, don't move. You should stay where you are. But anyway, just a bit more background of what's happened. My ancestors, I'm very much in touch with them, because I've got a couple of quite illustrious ones amongst them, including William Harrison Ainsworth, who was a friend of Charles Dickens and wrote The Lancashire Witches. And also...
Pendle Hill.
Pardon?
Pendle Hill. The Lancashire Witches.
Yes, we live near Pendle. And also Sir Arthur Quiller Couch on the other end of the country have ancestors from Cornwall.
Yes.
Yeah, and my son has just talked about moving to Cornwall. Anyway, there's two things I wanted to mention. One is I feel so jealous of the lovely fruit that people are getting because, yes, I've got apples in my garden, but we're recently become famous in our village as the most contaminated place in Britain.
Oh,
because
where's that?
High Bentham, I don't know, quite near Lancaster, quite near Settle, and Three Peaks, because we've got a firefighting factory in our village, and all the year I've been here 40 years, and every week they test their foam, which contains forever chemicals. It's got another complicated name, FPAS, but the forever chemicals are in the foam. And this year, some brave, wonderful woman from Pippa, her name, I don't remember the surname, from The Guardian, discovered about this and has been writing articles. And we've now had a minimal amount of action in the village. There's a lot of denial. But it's been tested, and there is a lot of contamination, including I've just offered ITV, who are doing a documentary on it, some of my apples to be tested to see whether I can eat them. I mean, half the country are glorifying in apples, and I'm like, I don't think I can eat mine yet.
Oh, no.
You know. Yes, it's pretty dire. I was going to say, I'm sorry to bring so much dire stuff onto this, but I did think
okay. It's life, isn't it?
There have been some weeks where I've not, been able to tune in, but I do find it very supportive. People that come on here. So my ancestors came from Lancashire. So my aunt in London said, when I said I'm moving to Lancashire, she said, "Oh, we come from there." They came down, and I think my great-grandparents were master and mistress of a workhouse in East London, which
Wow.
I'm sorry to say.
Oh dear.
But she was also the first woman councillor on Hackney Council for the Tory party, I'm sorry to say. But anyway, so when I came up here and I got a job teaching one-to-one with Lancashire County Council, I used to go all over the hills around here, the Bowland Forest, and at the same time I started reading my ancestors' book on the Lancashire witches and found that so many villages I'd been through were mentioned in the first chapter of his book. So I do feel as though one's ancestors are with one. Whether they may be very pleased about what's happening to me at the moment, I don't know. This is the other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm in trouble with the police for the first time in my 78 years.
Well done. What have you done?
I have been taken. Oh, it's been awful though. I was asked to voluntarily attend an interview under caution. It said, following complaints from my neighbours of harassment. I haven't got time to go into all the 40 years of harassment that they've done to me. You just have to take my word for it that it really is out of balance and just excruciating that what they've done and not been charged for, even though I have protested at times at things they've done. They for very little they've done it to me, and I didn't know for 2 months. I was waiting for a date to be interviewed because I'm disabled, can't walk very far, and having to go a distance, because they at first said you can't have a duty solicitor. Well, in fact, right up until the interview, they said we're not going to let you have a duty solicitor. And I knew damn well that they have to let me have a duty solicitor during an interview under caution. So there was delayed, and each time they said, well, if you're not going to find your own solicitor, we'll have to take it further away. And eventually it was in Skipton a month ago, 3 hours, and I'm 78. And I just wonder what I've not really discussed it that much with people, that they would do that to a 78 disabled person. And I knew I was allowed, I forget the word for it now, bet Rachel knows, someone who attends, who's on your side. You're allowed a friend or...
Mackenzie friend, is it?
No, it begins, it's two A's. Like, anyway, and they said I wasn't allowed to have one of those, and I knew that I class as a vulnerable adult, and I could have done. But the outcome is there is no outcome. They interviewed me, and this was a month ago. They've not told me if they're going to charge me. I spoke to a good solicitor. He said, although I know Rachel doesn't believe in that they're useful, I think. I'd like to know more about that, actually. But he said, oh, they can't charge you because you've not admitted to anything. Well, I haven't. And what their evidence was, they recorded me through my bedroom wall after disturbing me. They were washing all night for a shop they've opened up the road, sells clothes, secondhand clothes, and there was this buzzing went on all night. And then on top of that, they started banging doors early in the morning, and I got angry one morning, and they recorded that. So the police played that back to me, of me being upset by them, but that worked against me apparently. Plus notes. These are a file of notes your neighbour has produced. You're sending too many notes to them, but they are so crazy when I try to talk to them and say crazy things that very rarely I would put a note through. Anyway, that's the evidence that they had, and they really disrupted my life recently. I didn't go home. I'm now in a city where I'm house minding.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Lindsay.
But I'm trying to be quick with this. Sorry, it goes on a bit. Just very briefly, then the ending was that I sold my house. I went to a estate agent in Lancaster. They put it up for sale, and then I got a reply from my Tibetan teacher who had done a divination. They call it a mo, and it said it was really, really quite lovely in a way. He said, no, it's a good place where you are. You'll be feeling okay in the future. But it was the thing at the end where he said, calm your inner voice and show your light. You're a practitioner, spiritual practitioner. Show your love and your light, and stay there.
Good advice. Well, I'm so sorry to hear about that. It seems like a very unfair situation. But sometimes the light is challenged by the dark, isn't it? And our job is to remain in the light, remain high vibe, as I call it. So it sounds like you've managed to do that, Lindsay. So thank you for sharing.
I'd like to hear what you think about that advice.
Sorry, I'm just saying the meeting's been recorded. Okay. I feel as if they seem to be picking on you because you obviously have different views and opinions, and it doesn't seem like it's a very fair situation when you are just responding to a situation that's sort of been pressed upon you with all the noise. But I don't really know what they charged you with. Is it breach of the peace, or is it what did they charge? What was the actual charge?
Harassment.
Oh, you were supposed to be harassing them.
Yes, yes.
And
that's why I said their evidence was recording me through my bedroom window, getting angry, and the notes that I've sent to them.
I would say that's a breach of your privacy, a breach of your data. Filming, recording you through the door.
Yes.
No, I don't suppose they've got a leg to stand on. Really, the evidence is very weak, isn't it, for harassment? Because harassment's normally over a long period of time.
It has intimidated and frightened me a lot.
So, how are you feeling now? Where your situation is? How are you feeling? Are you feeling safe where you are?
I will need to go back to my house and my village. And one of the good things that's happening is that I've made connection with the church, and they know that I'm a practicing Buddhist. But we have fortnightly meditation meetings together, using both, the Buddhist form and the Christian form. And he's a wonderful guy, the priest there. So I think that's an important thing to put energy into. Yes,
finding allies, isn't it? Amongst this in the war. When we're in the war, we need the allies. So yes, yeah. I'm glad you found some. So Lindsay, because we've got two other people need to speak, I want to say well done. No, don't apologise. It's lovely to hear what you have to say. Unfortunately, I'm sorry that it's not been a very positive experience, obviously, that you're sharing. But it just goes to show that you're obviously creating some, too much light, and so they needed to bring you down a peg or two. That's what it sounds like to me. And they're often moved, aren't they, by invisible forces? So they don't even know they're doing it themselves, but they're vehicles for the dark, either your neighbours or the police, maybe unwittingly. But you just have to stand in your power, and actually their evidence is very weak and is not sustainable over a long period of time, unless you've been harassing people for a good long few months, which you obviously haven't. So well done for getting your technology correct and sorting out your sound. I'm impressed with that. And maybe you can come and tell us a couple of weeks' time what's gone on in the interim period. So if you'd like to mute yourself, Lindsay, and then we can just thank you so much for sharing. We're sending you lots of love and protection, and hopefully when you go back, they'll be appreciating you a bit more as to what you have to offer. So Rachel, would you like to unmute yourself? And maybe you have to share anything you'd like to share about any conversations we've had or any subjects I brought up, or maybe just your own.
I'm happy for you to go to Val. I'm happy for you to go to Val first.
Okay, Val. So she's conceding to your.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. I'm not even sure really. I'm going to ramble probably, but it was really referring back to what Corinne was saying, and I think Sass, you were talking about singing, and it's about. I think what I'm finding at the moment is that there seems to be an awful lot of invitations or opportunities or impulses. I don't know what they are, to connect with spirit, with other energies and nature. I'm coming across it quite a lot, actually. I'm coming across a lot of stuff that's talking about how healing sound is, particularly humming. I came across that this morning. Humming is really good for your brain and for your body. And also, I feel like perhaps part of my path is creating sound, or making sounds in nature, or I'm not quite sure. Interestingly enough, I had a couple of dreams recently. One which was showing me being a healer and having light coming out the centre of my body. It was only very brief. And then the other one, which was about connected to my joy.
was showing me dancing. Karine will identify with this, because I was actually in an Arabic country and I was doing a little bit of Arabic dance, and I was joining in with people outdoors, sort of almost like a tribal thing, and it brought me so much joy, you know. So this, I don't know quite what it is, but there's a little nugget of something important there about communing with sound and using your voice and maybe moving your body, because I do think your body is kind of like a tuning fork, but you can make magic with your body. Obviously, I found that out through dancing, particularly. And I keep on seeing things. I think it must be the algorithms, you know, bringing stuff up on Telegram and Instagram, and I keep seeing dancers and singers and people doing stuff, talking to nature and connecting with nature. So I'm not sure where that's going, but I just thought it feels like that's in the ether. It's something that people maybe need to make attention to. I don't know, but anyway, that's all I really wanted to say.
Well, that's a lovely thing to share, Val, and I would say that it's about sharing your vibration with nature, because it's an exchange, isn't it? An interaction. And if it's all one way, where nature's always speaking to us, either through the weather or through what's going on the beautiful buds or the leaves falling off, nature is always talking to us about our own nature. So I always say to people, when we do the autumn equinox and the leaves are starting to fall off the trees, it's about also going within ourselves and asking ourselves what it is that we need to shed in ourselves that will make us feel lighter, make us feel more elevated and a more heightened sense of emotions that are more on the higher scale, or the joy, the love, the inspiration, those type of feelings. So when I go everywhere, sounding to nature, sounding into the waters, because I'm literally sharing my vibration of where I'm at. And so it helps Mother Nature get a sort of feeling of where her children are at. So if you look at it like that, maybe it will help.
Yeah, well, I saw something the other day about how whales are. I think they kind of hold the song lines, I think, of the planet, or partly anyway, and how they've changed their song recently, and they've been discovered to be doing all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah.
I have this sense that the whole planet is a kind of matrix or symbols, and somehow when we move or sing, we affect that pattern. We affect or alter what's around us. So, you know, nature is all part of it, you know. Yeah.
Well, sing with heart. I mean, having a joyful heart is good medicine for ourselves. But also
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Down the planet. So when if you're, or even if it's a lament, it's like letting Mother Nature know what's going on within us, and so she can adjust and balance. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to come over to Rachel so she can just have the last word.
Fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, you've shared so far. So lovely to hear from you, Val. Keep on singing. Keep on communicating with nature. So over to you, Rachel. Hi there, darling. How are you?
Hey, Sass. Thanks for hosting. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock, isn't it? So kind of run out of time. But yeah, so just weaving through all of this. I mean, it's basically we're dealing with Wetiko, whether it's the credit card companies or the nasty neighbors or the stabbings and all of these kind of false flag things. Because I posted a video with David Curtin talking about how I haven't been tuning into the news or whatever, but he was basically saying that the whole thing is to try to push in digital ID, saying, oh, you got to go have airport style security to get into a train station, and they'll pull back from that and say, oh, well, that's too complicated, but use your digital ID. It's all, all of this stuff. So anyway, we're dealing with Wetiko, and I love what you said at the beginning, Sass. Although I wasn't here, I was sort of half listening from the kitchen, and about the resonance and to echo what Val is saying and Lindsay's saying about, and also what Annie's saying about pattern interrupting the false matrix and the Wetiko. through harmonic resonance. And I was shown this in a really powerful way in a plant medicine ceremony, in an ayahuasca ceremony, where they were playing the singing crystal singing bowls, which and the gongs, which are very much like whale noises when they stroke, when they kind of stroke the gong. It's like, yeah, it's really amazing. And I was just shown by the medicine that its sound is like going to bring the walls of Jericho down. That's all we need to do: harmonic resonance and pattern interrupting and speaking our truth and love and joy and laughter and sacred sounds and singing bowls and drumming even, and all harmonic resonance collapses the Wetiko. So for example, with Lindsay, what I would suggest from a feng shui perspective, if you've got a difficult neighbor, is to play harmonic resonance in your house, even if it's quietly, to keep a frequency that the Wetiko can't live in harmonic resonance. It turns it to dust. So that is a cure, like to bring in harmonic resonance, and they'd probably move out, in that situation. But one practical thing I'd say, Lindsay, about your visit by the police, for anyone else who gets this, because I had this over the whole election fraud nonsense, being invited in under caution for an interview, it basically means they don't have enough evidence and they want you to incriminate yourself, and they will trick you because they don't have enough evidence. So basically, you can basically say, firstly, you can exercise your right to remain silent, but you can basically say, I will agree to attend your interview conditional upon you providing reasonable evidence that I have committed a crime. Because so basically that's the way to do it, because if you resist arrest or you refuse, then that's a different crime. And also the thing about having a solicitor is, when you appoint a solicitor or you consent to a solicitor to represent you, you've basically said, I'm a mute person who cannot speak for myself, and once you've agreed to a solicitor, the police don't have to deal with you. They will only deal with your solicitor. So that's why I would always say, never appoint a solicitor, because you've agreed to the system, you've consented to the system. Speak for yourself as a free woman of the land, and do not agree to go into their system, which is what you do if you have a solicitor or barrister or whatever, because they're not acting for you, they're acting for the bar. So anyway, yeah, so I would never, and even if I was put in a room with a policeman, and interesting that the Huntingdon in stabbing incident, the spokesperson for the police was Superintendent Loveless.
Loveless?
Yes.
You can make it up.
You can't make it up. I posted it on Telegram. You cannot make it up. Anyhow, I thought that was funny. And actually, I think things like that are a sign, actually, it's like the laughing Buddha. Things like that, when it's a sign that the false matrix is cracking and crumbling. When you get Superintendent Loveless comes on in his panto costume with his hat with the Masonic band, saying, "Oh yes, da 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 da," and you just have to laugh, because it's like that the false matrix the Wetiko is getting so desperate, to create fear and just chaos. It's almost like they're becoming a laughable pantomime now, and so I just think the whole thing is descending into hilarious proportions. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's 13:06.
Well, you're not rambling on. You're telling us. What I thought similar to that was when I saw the first person ever to be injected with the COVID-19 was a Mr. William Shakespeare. Remember that? It was the first person who was studying. He was called William Shakespeare, so that was definitely a red flag to me.
Can I just end on one thing? Sorry, Sass.
Yeah, sure. That's all right. You go for it.
Can I just do a bit of a plug for A Dragon's Guide to Business, because it has been it has been a journey of the most epic proportions, and that program is a pattern interrupt of all of the programs which have been installed in us by the false matrix of how to do business and our relationship with money. And so it's really gone deep with that, and it's been, the creation of it has been informed by the group, and I'm very grateful to both the beta testers and the alpha group, because I've been co-creating it as I've been tuning in, and then I've been creating the content as I've been going along. So it's just been the most epic journey, and I created 45 days of content, 29 videos, all filmed in nature. I was specifically told by ayahuasca, when you redo it, you must film the entire thing in nature. And there's only one video which is indoors, which is where I'm teaching people how to bring nature into the house through creating an altar, and how an altar can literally alter your state of consciousness so you can move into that vertical alignment. So I'm actually really pleased with it, I have to say. But it's been absolutely epic. So I'm really encouraging anyone who feels the calling to come on board for the next program, which starts on the new moon in January 2026.
Sounds absolutely brilliant. I would love to do it, because obviously this is the bridge, isn't it, between the new world and the old system, and the old way of doing business.
I had the most epic download about gold, about the power of gold and why they took gold out of the money system, because gold is so sacred in that it is our ability to connect. It's links Pachamama, it's like links Mother Earth to Father Sky, because it's the golden chi. It's like in the earth. So gold, the value of gold is way more than its monetary value. It literally, you can journey with gold. And I do a whole explanation of the suit of pentacles in the tarot in the program, about the metaphysical meaning of the Pentacles suit, which is all about money and Venus, the 5-pointed star of Venus, and how gold is really important to restore the right relationship with money and flow. And so putting gold back in is for our future that we're co-creating. Putting gold back in is really important, and it's coming back in because of the war situation. The price of gold is going through the roof, so don't go for Bitcoin, go for gold.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. And if you I've got put in the chat an address for TECA, which is the English County Assemblies. They're connected with the Global Family Group, which have got a bond of 16 trillion gold back from the Vatican. They take the money back. It is all about gold-backed energy.
Yes,
that's the new money. Is gold, not digital necessarily. Well, digital, but it's backed by real essence of gold, rather than just promissory notes that don't really exist. If everyone wanted to hand in their promissory notes, take back what it says on the promissory note, the whole system would collapse, which I think is what's happening.
Yes,
is it real money? Is it? So all of that is really interesting, and food for thought for our next discussion. I will, when I get a chance, it was only if there was no one speaking, I would have gone into the tech a little bit of why you should connect with them. But I've put the address down there if anybody wants to find solutions to our wicked, unlawful system, and to be a part of the new way forward in terms of lawfulness and our own setting up. Government means mind control, but our own sort of system of lawfulness. Let me put it that way. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, so much for coming on. Thank you for hanging on. I know we've run a bit over, but it's all these women, you see, want to chat away. And I haven't had Conrad or any masculine energies dropping in. So maybe next time you can encourage your husbands, sons, boyfriends, lovers, or whatever else to come along and to represent the masculine energy. So thank you, everyone, for coming on, and look forward to seeing you in a month's time. Rachel, maybe I might have to do the next one, depending on what Rachel's up to. But please come back here and connect with us all for the next People Speaks Out. And this will be recorded. I think Rachel will put it up on her channel on YouTube. So share it with your friends, and lots of love. Take care till next time. And thank you all for joining us. Many thanks to the People Speaks Out. I'm Sass Bullock. and hopefully you've enjoyed your hostess for today. Lots of love. Take care.